Hi everyone. So I've been hearing a lot about trauma-informed therapy, trauma-informed blah blah blah. And it's not just relative to global scenarios, it is also relevant to Pakistan because I'm seeing a lot of posts, a lot of feeds in my Instagram, in my Facebook pages, and I was intrigued by the method. And I was asking myself that how am I different from all these? And I came to understand with this idea that what is the difference between trauma informed and trauma transformative? Because I really want to put myself into the later camp, means trauma informed. And I thought that it would be wonderful to share this idea with my audience so they can also understand by me breaking down this idea of what's the major difference between the two. Because I feel it is very important when people, especially potential clients, opt for different practitioners, different mental health practitioners, different psychologists, therapists. So here is what I feel about it. So there are 5 points that I want to share with you. So it's like a what is the major difference between the two? So first I feel that how both of these camps define the very word of trauma. And what I mean by this is that what the kind of paradigm that they subscribe to when they use the term trauma. So when people say trauma informed, I believe that they come from this paradigm of what is wrong with people. Yeah. So what's wrong with people? It's like that's the assumption behind that major paradigm. And if you talk about trauma transformative paradigm, it will talk about what happened to people. There's a major difference in the two. Because when you say what is wrong with the people, you make the people the problem. Means that they will have mental disorders, they will have everything that is within them. But the trauma informed or trauma transformative paradigm doesn't treat people as problem. They treat people having some problems. So this is my second point. So trauma transformation or trauma transformative paradigm feels and think and believes that there is nothing wrong with people. They are just stuck within those social patterns that they want to come out. That's all. And trauma informed practices assume that there is a pathology within the people. And pathology means that there is some kind of disease in them or a disorder in them which is making them behave and act in a different way. That's the second point I want to say. So when you choose a practitioner, you can sort of know this difference. And the third point I want to make, which is very important, because trauma informed, I believe that there is an assumption that the trauma informed practices want to get rid of trauma. They want to literally get rid of trauma, and most clients would go by with this idea, and they wouldn't find any problem with them. But let me tell you, it's like, let me explain what trauma transformative approach thinks about it, and which is this. So for them, trauma is a catalyzing force. Trauma is a change agent. It pushes you or it brings you to the place where you might know your life purpose. So trauma is nothing to be get rid of. Trauma is something that you know it, you see that contrast, and you move it into a different direction. Yeah. So for example, I was born into a family, dysfunctional family, and I'm a codependent in recovery. But now I'm using my codependency to help people. It's like if you become aware of your trauma, then you can do something about it. And so trauma transformation believes in that it catalyzes you, it transforms you. So if you talk to people who come out of trauma and change their life and living it successfully, they would tell you that if they hadn't had this experience or traumatic experience, they wouldn't be pushed into changing their lives. Yeah. And the fourth point I want to emphasize is what are the beliefs and assumptions of the practitioners themselves. So when people talk about trauma informed practices, they assume that the power of healing all the resources that a client needs to heal is within the practitioner. That's what I feel that they assume. But when it comes to trauma transformation, the practitioner doesn't assume that she has all the resources, but we assume that there are many resources that are within the client, and the practitioner within the trauma transformation paradigm works as a facilitator. It is she is a change agent. He facilitates the client so that the client is encouraged to see all those resources within them and then use those resources. And if those resources are not present, then the facilitator enables the client to develop those resources. So in the later practice of trauma informed, there's a kind of dependency over practitioner. But in this paradigm of trauma transformation, it's interdependence. So practitioner and client are working in an interdependent environment. So which brings to the fifth and the last point of the major difference between the two. And this is the issue of power, because power is very important to understand in the therapeutic circle, which is highly misunderstood. So in the trauma-informed practice, I suppose the belief is that the client has no power or minimal power, and all the power lies in the practitioner. And that's a mistake, I believe. Because in the trauma transformation paradigm, the practitioner assumes, or the practice assumes, that client needs to be empowered. Clients have this capacity to self-power themselves. So in the transformative paradigm, both client and practitioner work together to empower the client. So the focus is client empowerment. Whereas if you see in the trauma-informed paradigm, it feels like the power resides in the practitioner and it will share the power with the client, and then the client will empower. And that's where the major difference is. So this is what I wanted to break down, and I hope you will like it. I would really appreciate if you share this video, if you love this video, and comment and interact with me. What do you think about it? Thank you.